Hey guys, Colin here. Today I want to talk about some really simple ideas that work over a major chord or a major 7 chord. They're going to be based entirely almost just out of a major triad, 1, 3, and 5. So maybe you've heard some of these ideas before. I'm going to move that into the key of C and just look at it one note at a time. We'll take each note of the triad, here beginning with C, and we're going to add a diatonic note above it, and then a chromatic note below it. Diatonic just means the next note in the scale, so the next note above C would be D, and chromatic just means down a half step, so a half step below C would be B. Now moving to E, get used to this pattern. Diatonic note above, chromatic note below. And moving to G one last time through the pattern. Diatonic note above the G, chromatic note below the G. Altogether you have. There are plenty of ways to go back down this pattern. Here's one starting on C where you'll see it goes down to the chromatic note below C and then to the diatonic note above C. The same two notes around G and the same two notes around E. Together you get. Next, try some variations like anticipating the beat by starting on the end of 3 and maybe adding some triplets. Or you can make it even more rhythmic by playing the entire thing as triplets, like that thing I played at the very beginning of the video. Here's how it starts. Now, it might sound just like the other lick, but watch closely because it gets a little bit confusing here. These next notes in the red bracket are the same as before, diatonic above G, chromatic below G. Put those two together and you get. Here's that same pattern around E. Together now we have. And finally, one more time through that pattern and you get back to C where you started. Now put it together throughout one octave and you have. If you're having trouble hearing these as triplets since there's no beat or chord progression as a reference point, here's a lick that I took from Sonny Stitt to give you a little bit of context. One thing I love about that line is that he really doesn't hit any of the chord changes. Just look at that again. This is over a rhythm changes chord progression, so just 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, and check out what he does on the very second chord, A7 flat 9. I don't think too many Ebersold books are going to tell you to play this lick over A7. Go into the next measure, and I guess you could see some of the notes hitting the changes, but really what it sounds like to me is just a G, E, and C being outlined, or a C major triad the entire time. This raises a really interesting point. What chords can you use this over? Obviously you could just play a C major triad over a C major chord. It'll always work. But could you also play it over maybe moving chords, 1, 6, 2, 5, like a rhythm changes? People usually see all these chords and they say, well, you have to hit the thirds and sevenths, and you have to hit flat 9 and closures, and the licks end up looking like this. This works totally fine, and you might even see some of these lines in an Ebersold book. After all, let's look at how many times I played a third or seventh of the chord. But the point is that you don't need to hit every third and seventh. If there was any lesson that I learned from Sonny Stitt there, it's that if you have a really strong melodic idea, it can work over these longer chord progressions. So in this case, maybe you could just play the lines that we came up with earlier in this video over the first 4 bars of rhythm changes. So that entire line was basically just decorating the notes C, E, G, then again C, G, you get the idea. So now, start coming up with some variations of your own, and definitely let me know what you come up with. In my next video, I'm going to show you a few variations that I found in Joe Henderson and Michael Brecker, and then I'll show you a few variations that I came up with on my own. Thanks for watching.